Facing record levels of attrition, India's second largest software services firm Infosys is reportedly invoking the non-compete clause in the employment agreements to curb attrition. A Pune-based IT union, the nascent Information Technology Employees Senate, has written to the Union Labour Ministry seeking the removal of the clause, calling it arbitrary, unethical and illegal. While Infosys has had the clause for a long time, the union claimed that the company is now enforcing it and that it has received 65 to 70 complaints from employees. The non-compete clause bars employees from accepting offers from any of the named rival companies for a period of 6 months after leaving Infosys, if the new job involves working with a client with whom the employee had worked during the last 12 months of their stint with Infosys. For the said duration, the employee also cannot accept a job offer from any customer with whom they had worked in the 12 months immediately preceding the termination of their employment with Infosys. According to reports, Infosys has named 5 competitors including TCS, Accenture, IBM, Cognizant and Wipro for IT services employees, and 9 companies including Tech Mahindra, Genpact, WNS, TCS, Accenture, IBM, Cognizant, Wipro and HCL for business processing management staff. Non-compete clauses are not valid in India as per Section 27 of the Indian Contract Act, which states that any agreement that restrains anyone from practicing a lawful profession, trade, or business is to that extent void. The courts have time and again trashed such clauses and held that post-termination non-compete clauses are not enforceable.
To retain the employees, they were trying to match with the package and the offer that employee is receiving, from the other organization. Though this was prevailing for the past 5 or 6 months, suddenly we came to know that Infosys is pressurizing employees, and they are asking employees and they're showing the employees their offer letter, which includes this non-compete agreement. So the employees at the time of joining, they are in a hurry, they want to join as soon as possible. So at that time, it's you can say negligence from the employees part also. So the company is now coming back to the employees in the HR discussions after the resignation, the employees who are in on notice period right now. So the HR is trying to retain the employees on the basis of this non-compete agreement. We do understand and I do agree that this clause has been there for past few years, but we cannot call it ethical or legal, because it violates the Constitution of India, right to livelihood. And apart from that, it also violates Section 27 of the Indian Contract Act. There is a strict policy of background verification in IT sector. So supposingly if he joins another competitor, and in background verification, if it is told to Infosys that this employee is applying for the job and he has joined our organization, then there will be a negative comment on that part. We are receiving complaints from the employees who have already put down the papers, who are on notice period, because they're unable to retain the employees, so they have find out, like, use this as a weapon.
Infosys, on its part, said that it is a standard business practice for employment contracts to include controls of reasonable scope and duration to protect the confidentiality of information, customer connection, and other legitimate business interests. It denied that the clause prevents employees from joining other organizations. The attrition rate at Infosys touched a record high of 27.7% in the March quarter on a last 12 months basis. In FY22, Infosys hired around 85,000 freshers and has planned a fresher intake of more than 50,000 in the current fiscal. As of March 31, Infosys had 3.14 lakh total employees, while TCS had 5.92 lakh people on its rolls. Most IT firms are jostling to hire employees and retain existing ones in a tight job market.
There is a rationale behind it. In several places, several companies, not just the IT sector, that people tend to include this. It's a deterrent primarily. From a company's perspective, what happens is when you hire someone, especially freshers, they train him, they spend some time, effort. The person 2 years later leaves, taking all of that valuable input, and it goes for a higher pay at some other place. And they can replace the person with a fresher when they're back to square one, or they have to go to a rival and get a person at a similar experience level at a higher cost. They have to avoid that, to deter people. They generally tend to put this. although I have not seen a single situation where this has actually been enforced. So I'm not sure what kind of enforcement you're talking about. At best, you can probably write a legal notice to the person scaring him. Beyond that, if you go to court, it doesn't hold any good. But practically speaking, it's difficult and daunting just to think of fighting a case against a company like Infosys or any other big company for that matter. So best course of action is what they are doing right now is to unionize, to have a collective effort so that their expense, time and effort in fighting this is kept to a minimum. And they can all band together and see who else has been sent a notice or who else, and then seek remedy from the courts accordingly. Because that is the only way, and that is the best way for them to make this hassle-free. Because nobody wants to get into a long-drawn litigation, especially in relation to their profession and their work.
Employees have previously opposed the long 90-day notice period standard in India's IT industry. The invocation of the controversial non-compete clause, despite its legal validity being under question, can bring down employee morale, restrict the movement of labor between companies, and dent the growth prospects of employees. After all, there are only so many large employers in the IT services and BPM sectors, and most employees tend to switch between this limited set of companies.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.